My brothers and sisters in Islam and in humanity at large, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We have picked some political terms for today's training session. These political terms are massively used in printed media, audio and video media, as well as we use it every single day in our daily life. So we are going through these terms and we see what are the meanings of them as well as how they are used. So by that we can avoid misinterpretation as well as a misunderstanding of these words. The first one we have king, or the system is called kingdom. So king is generally referring to a male ruler who is ruling a state, a country, or whatever, and the system is called kingdom. Then this kingdom has two different kinds. One is called absolute kingdom and the other one is called constitutional kingdom. With absolute kingdom, it simply means that the king has the full power, the full authority, and he can do whatever he likes to do, whatever he wishes to do, either positive or negative in both cases. The other one is the forms. So kingdom has four different forms. The first one is heritage kingdom, and it simply means that the right of being a king is given to a king's child while he's born. I mean, it's a birthright, let's say. So as long as the king is in good health condition, physically and temperamentally, he is the king. So as soon as he finds that he's not okay with that anymore, with those two health conditions, then his son becomes the king. And generally speaking, it's his first son who becomes the king. Now the second one is electoral kingdom, which that means people vote, or the nationals or the citizens, they vote and they pick somebody as their king. We used to have this back in history, but in 21st century we don't have it anymore. And also it's pointed to be, there's a point to be mentioned that the word national can be used mostly with the kingdom. The word citizen can be mostly used with the president and presidency. We come to that in a bit. So now with this one there is a disadvantage, or there is a cons, which means that if the son or the offspring of the king is not in a good fit, he is not fit for that position. Let's say physically he's not in a good health condition or temperamentally, but still he's given the right. So that's a pros for, sorry, that's a cons actually. And then with this one, the pro is that people themselves, they vote for somebody who they wishes, who they like to become the king. So that's a pro for electoral kingdom. There could be some other pros and cons, but I'm just trying to make one example for each, or make mention of at least one. So autocratic kingdom is the third one. That simply means that the king has uncontrolled and unlimited power, and he likes to do, or let's say he can do, or he is able to do whatever he likes to do or he wishes to do. And even if he's doing very cruel activities, very ill deeds, there's nobody, no entity to control him. So that's why the nationals are suffering that, or the people are just suffering and they have no other option. So with the next one, which is limited or constitutional kingdom, that stands against the autocratic. That means that there is a constitution. The constitution could be either written or non-written, but there is a constitution and that limits his ability and his rights, which means that the constitution divides the power and the authority into two. One is given to king and the other one is given to the organized government, which is really good. So again, for the pros and cons of these two, it has at least one big pro and it has a very big cons. Now the other word we have emperor, and the system is called empire. So now who is emperor? Emperor is called, in a simple translation, we can say the big boss. For example, if there is 3 different countries, A, B, and C, each country has a king, and all these kings are responsible in front of a big boss who is the superintendent of all these kings. He is called the emperor, or the big boss, or the superintendent of all these kings. So it's a heavy title and a great title given to him with great ability and power. And again, the system is called empire. But after the Second World War, back in 20th century, it has ended. We don't have any example of that after the Second World War, especially in the current century, which is 21st century. We don't have any example of that anymore. So the next word we have is sultan or sultanate. It means the system is called sultanate, but the person is called sultan. So this is taken from Arabic language. It's used there, which is sultan in sultanate. But yeah, I mean, English speakers, the way they pronounce it, sultan and sultanate. So it's slightly different from the way it's pronounced in Arabic. But yeah, with this one, it can be having two meanings. One, in some places it's used as the word king and kingdom. In some places it's used as the word emperor or empire. So we have to really understand the context of somebody is speaking or writing. So, or if it's in a written version, we have to understand whether it's referring to king or kingdom or emperor and empire. So we can understand from there. Now, we have some side words which are related to number 1, number 2, and number 3. So the first one is called queen. Queen is called, I mean, generally speaking, queen is the wife of king, but it has another meaning. That's why I'm trying to say it has two meanings. One, queen is the wife of the king. She doesn't have that power, that authority, but since she is the wife of king, so she's called queen. But the other meaning of queen is queen herself is a ruler. She's the one who's ruling the state, so she's a sovereign. That's why she's called a queen. So if we are using it in that way, it should be clear in a context wherever, if we are using, or if we are reading something, or if we are hearing. So it has two meanings. Now the next one is there's one more thing. The wife of the president that we are going to talk over here, the wife of a president cannot be called queen. She can be called the first lady. We come to that in a bit. So the next word we have is prince and princess. So prince is used as, it's used for the male offspring or male child of the king, and princess is used for the female offspring or child of the king. That's the difference. Then we have another word, empress. So empress is used as the word emperor, but the difference is emperor is used for male ruler, who's the big boss again, and if there is no male emperor, if she is female, then we use the word empress rather than emperor. So that's the female version of emperor, let's say. Then we have another word, monarch. Monarch means king and emperor both, and monarchy is used as kingdom and empire. But again, when we are reading a text, we have to understand the context, whether it's used as a king or as emperor. And the reason I'm insisting on it is because the word emperor is more heavy, is more it has more strength in it, and he has more power rather than a king. That's why we have to know when we say, or somebody says monarch, it should be clear to us whether it's a king or emperor. Then we have the next word, president and presidency, or the system is called presidency. So who is called the president, and what does it mean? President is called for a person where the citizens of a country, they vote and they pick one person among, let's say 3, 4, or even if there is 2 nominees, they pick one person as their president for a specific period of time, 4 or 5 years, generally speaking, and he becomes the president, and his wife is called the first lady, and the system is called presidency. And after that 4 or 5 years, somebody else could be picked, or the same person may remain for 1, 2 more terms. It depends on the constitution of different countries. So he's called the president. But with king or with the sultan and emperor, as long as they are alive and they're in good health condition, they're doing, they're been maintained and they're there with that positions. If they're not good with that health condition, then their son could be the king or the emperor or whatever, or the sultan. So that's in difference with that. Now the word emir, or the system is called emirate. It's actually pure Arabic words, and it's referring to Islamic rulers mostly. And back in in Islamic history, back in days, at the very early stages of Islam, there was the emirate system. So there are some difference between this and that. We can point out that at the end, but let's have an explanation on this first, what it is. So the way it works is different from the president or presidency. The way it works is that there is an interim council first. The interim council is called Interim Council of Settlement and Conclusion. So this interim council is consisted of 3 different parties. I'm not saying the political parties, but I'm saying the groups. So 3 different groups. One is the religious scholars, the other one is the most influential people or figures or individuals, and the third one is the tribal leaders. These 3 different groups of people, they get around and they consult, they give their opinions on that, then they'll pick somebody as their Amir or Emir. So as long as the Amir and the Emir is in good health condition and he is able to run the office, he's the one who's there, that's all. But the difference, there is a similarity or commonality between this and the kingdom, because as far as they're alive, they're running the office. But the difference is with kingdom, once he's not there and he passes away, then his son becomes the king. But with this one, no. The interim council is established again. All those 3 groups of people or parties, they come around and they pick a new person. Could be the son of the emir or could be another person. But as it's experienced, like back in the early days of Islam, it used to be different people, not the son of the same person. So now, coming to the usage of this, or some examples of this, it's back in Islamic days, there was emirate system, and it has a very, very positive achievements. People were not able to find a negative point out of that. And now we do have 2 examples in the 21st century, which is not that good. The first example of the emirate system in 21st century is if you have heard of Mujahideen, I'm talking about Afghanistan. Over there, when they kicked out the Russia, or when they defeated the Russia, they took over and they had a meeting. They created, the Interim Council of Settlement and Conclusion. And they were talking on that, and they picked somebody as their Amir or Emir. But the problem with that was all those conditions, as I said, 3 different groups of people, those conditions were not met. And it was just kind of to show that we did have this interim council, but all the criteria were not met. Even the one who was picked as an emir, he was not fully qualified. And the other example of that was when Taliban came and they occupied the country, or at least the capital, Kabul. They did the same. They established an interim council, and they were not able to have all those conditions. They could not fulfill all those conditions, and the one who was picked as Amir, they were not even able to find a qualified person for that. Or so that's why some people says that since these 2 were not fulfilling all those the requirements, that's why their system were not that much legitimate, or it did not have legitimacy in front of the people. So anyway, yeah, we did have 2 examples of them, which is very weak examples, but the strong and the best examples were back in days. So that's the other thing. We did talk about the emirate, and then we have the last word, leader or leadership. So leader has different meanings, or it can be used in different ways. The first thing, leader is called for somebody who is the head of a political party. He's called the leader of the party. The other is if there's an organization, it has a leader on top or the head. He's called the leader. He's also, the word leader is used for him. But when we say leader in political terms, or we say political leader, then it has a different meaning. What does it mean? It means that if there is internal disorder in affairs of a country, which is almost impossible, or which is really difficult to get rid of and to solve that, and there is a person who comes and take over and he solve that problem, he's given the title of the leader or the political leader. Or if this country has some disputes or some disagreements and related to some foreign countries in their relation, that could be a political relation, a military or whatever, so they cannot get along with them, and then the problem exists there for some time, and somebody emerges among the citizens and he's the one who can solve that problem, resolve it. He's given the title of political leader. He could be the president of the country, he may remain as the president, or even he does as a president, and then he leaves the office, but he is still given the title of the political leader, and people respect him so much so that as long as he's alive, he's given that title and with well respect, and possibly some advantages in the law or something is given to him as well. So these are the political terminologies that we had for today. I hope you have found them useful. If you have any comments or you have any suggestion, please let us know. Thank you so much for your patience and your consideration. Have a nice time.